G'day folks, well this is the Bagua Cube. I don't know what Bagua means, is it gossip? Anyway, this is a wonderful cube and this has been really broken in by a lot of me playing with it, and it's super shiny, super glossy. This is obviously the stickerless version and the turning is just superb. So this is a wonderful cube. I've had a couple of times when I've turned too quickly and I haven't had it aligned and things have looked like they're going to pop and I've quickly put it back. So as long as you align it correctly, there's no issues whatsoever. It is a bit of a high priced one, but in my book definitely worth the challenge. If you like a challenging cube, this is by far one of the most interesting, challenging and enjoyable and frustrating cubes that I've come across. So the first thing that I want to do here is just go through scrambling it, and in my unboxing video I had a really hard time doing it, and then it tweaked with me as I was solving it. Oh my goodness, scrambling's super easy. All I really need to do is that sort of thing, and by doing that I've separated bits from bits everywhere. So what I do really is just a combination of some normal 3x3 turns, and when I feel like it, do that sort of thing. And I might as well, generally I'll take, and here's what I'm talking about with the alignment. You can see that that is not quite there. So if I try and turn it, it will go this one, but it's better that I have it right there, and then it goes. And I'll do it on both sides, put these back, and then perhaps I can also do this, front turn, that sort of thing. Whatever makes me happy. A few more 3x3s, and just continue in that fashion while keeping it in a cube shape. And eventually you'll get down to this point where it's still in cube shape, but clearly everything's been pretty nicely scrambled. So from here we're just going to, instead of turning both of these faces, just start turning one of them and do things like this. And my goal really, I suppose, is to try and keep scrambling it like this as much as I can, but I find that pretty soon stuff will start blocking and I won't be able to do what I'd like to do. So from here it's just a matter of taste as to how far you continue to try and scramble it. You can see that if I want to go up there I can't now because that thing's blocking it. So I might bring that around. Something's been blocked down here somewhere. I can't even, oh there it is, that one there. So if I want to keep going I might just do what I can. I'll obviously try and keep scrambling it as much as I can here to get a good scramble. And I reckon that's as good a scramble as I'm going to get. I'm running into blocking every time that I keep trying to do something else. So that's probably time to start solving. Now, a simple, quick word here with solving. This is going to be a pretty long video and I don't really apologise for that because it is a very involved cube. So I trust that you'll stick with me, but I will have navigational things on the video in case you want to skip ahead or back to a different section. So we're going to begin with the solve by returning it to cube shape. Now returning it to cube shape does not mean that it's ready to reduce the edges. There's a separate stage after it's in cube shape, but that certainly is the first thing, is returning to cube shape. And what I'm going to do there is initially just get it turning as best I can with simple 45-degree turns. And so I just want sort of as many faces as I can get turning, and it's a little bit of a, just having a bit of a look around and make a judgment on the matter. I don't really like the look of that. That's a little bit better, and probably that's something like that is good enough. That's ugly, so let's see, that's not great either. Let's try and maybe deal with that somehow. That's probably not going to be great no matter what we do. So look, that's good enough. Now from here there are a number of steps, and normally I do them in a particular order, and sometimes I need to just change around the order of what I'm doing. And initially I might try getting 4 of these parts where there's a corner in an edge position and putting them on the same face, all jutting out from that top face. So for example, there's 2. If I can put that one up there, I say try because sometimes everything's blocked. You can't move what you want anyway. And I can see here, this is going to be a huge problem. This one here, that's going to be a big issue. So probably that's not going to work, and I'm going to have to deal with this piece pretty soon. Let's have a look and just see if I can do something anyway. I'll probably leave that and put that one up there. That's not bad, that's a bit better. There's 3 up there. I'll just go for a 4th here if I can. Alright, the reason for doing that is that I can then turn that like that, and I've kind of got 4 corners into the corner positions. Now, most of the time you're not going to have 4 corners on the edge, but that's looking a little bit better. Now, at this point, what I want to start trying to do is rotate any edges that are in the edge positions. So this is an edge in the edge position. This is an edge in a corner position. I'll leave that for now. Looking for edges in the edge position. And the way I want to do that is turn it to a corner position and then up, up, down, down. And I need to check that I've got turnable faces on the front and the right. In this case, it looks like I do. I want the blue to go up to the top, so I want it to go that way. So I'm going to go up, up, down, down twice, starting with the right face. And this time I didn't get any blockage part way through, which I can get. Anyway, you can see that has now put that edge into a good position there. Here's another one. Let's see if we can do something similar. I've got turnable faces, so that's good. Again, we'll rotate that way and see if it remains turnable. Yeah, that's good. And then of course turn that back. Okay, what else? Well, let's try this one here. Now I think that's blocked down the bottom somewhere. That's okay. Okay, it's not down the bottom, it's that piece there, which tells me that I'd like to get rid of that if I can. I really want to get these cornery bits off, so let's try that, see if that's any better. That's now turning, that's turning, so let's give this one a go. Here we go. That one there, that's looking good. We'll try this one as well. So far I haven't had any problem blockages, which you sometimes have. So on that face I've got no other edges in the edge position that need to be rotated, but they are elsewhere. So here's one of them. So I'm just going to keep doing this as much as I can. The more of these I can do, probably the easier it's going to become later on. Now I've got I've got 4 left that I'm going to attempt. That's going to be a problem when I turn that to there. That'll be a problem. That's why I'm just looking and thinking, what can I put there instead? That's fine. That's fine. Let's try that. Should have 3 only now. 1, 2, 3. Yep, yep. Here's one. That's okay. That's not. What's blocking that one? This piece. Okay, so I just want to... that's going to block it as well. I'll try one more turn. That'll be okay, I think. Yeah. Okay. There should only be one left. It should only be that one there. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so I've done as much as I can with the edges. You can see how much better it's looking. My next step is to try and switch the corners in the edge positions with the edges in the corner positions, if that makes sense. So what I normally like to do is have them next to each other, and I'm going to take this out down to here just with an up, up, down, down, and then turn this in and return it. Now, these are both turnable at the moment, so let's hope that that stays turnable. I'll put this one in. Now I just want to look and see, sometimes these are oriented where there's only one up, up, down, down required. This one, it needs to completely flip. So there's going to be 3 that are required. There's one of them. And the third one. And that puts that edge in, I turn it back, and that corner have switched positions. And it looks like I've got one more over here. So I bring this one down, yep, turn that on. And now this time I just need to turn the yellow up to the top, so that large triangle is facing that way, so up, up, down, down. And you can see it has been returned to what I call cube shape, so I guess that's stage 1. But it's certainly not ready to reduce the edges. And this is the second stage now, which I'm going to call, what am I going to call it? Get ready to reduce the edges. Okay. Now, the issue here is what I'm looking for, the kind of edges that I need to make in order to reduce it are edges like this, where they have the 2 outer edge parts just vertically like that. So here's one example where it's not like that. Here's another. You can see they're subtly different. This one has one correct edge, but this one is not. Here's a third type where the 2 sort of look like they're vertically correct, but they go into the middle there. So there's a number of different types. Now, the first type that I want to look for and deal with if I see them is this type here. This is an absolute pain in the neck, and you must deal with that first, or you're just going to keep running into problems. So what I'm doing now is seeing if there are any more of them. I only see the one. Okay, so what I'm going to attempt to do here is firstly just try and solve it by a little bit of logic. And I think, well, I want to turn that part of it off and replace it with something else. Now the problem with this edge, the reason it's so bad, certainly for helping to reduce, is that I've got one diagonal on one side of the edge and another diagonal on the other side of the edge. I want the diagonals on both, or else I want this to be completely vertical. So let's just initially turn that off and turn it up and see what I put there. If I was to do that and turn it back, you see I've created a pretty good edge there. That's fine. What's happened down the bottom? Has it fixed anything? It actually looks like it has dealt with that problem. No, it hasn't, because it's actually got that there. And if this is my edge, what could I do? Turn that back and I've got exactly the same issue. Okay. So what I'm attempting to do is probably get an edge, because remember I'm going to turn the top face back. So this is where we started. I'm turning it off 45 degrees, top face back, and then go again. Now I'm actually going to just try and get this back to where it was, if I can remember that, which I probably can't. What I might do is just quickly get this back to proper cube shape again. Okay, well, it's back into cube shape. Apologies for that. I think before we had the one that was going in the opposite direction, so we had diagonal on each part of the edge, but I was turning it that way to separate it, but clearly now I can't do that. I'm going to need to turn it this way to separate those 2 bits. So the thing that I was trying to get at is, what do we need to put on the bottom in order to deal with this? Obviously it's got to be a piece so that we don't have a diagonal on this side. Now, as it turns out, what you're looking for is a piece that's completely done, that's both vertical parts like that. And if I look around this puzzle, I find that I don't have any of them at all. And so I need to improvise a bit. I need to basically turn or put pieces here so that when I turn the bottom face, I actually create a piece like that. So you can see now a piece like that is in that edge position. And once I've got that, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to turn that off, do a 180 and turn it back. Now, let's first look at the top. You can see clearly that's now good. That hasn't been touched. That's still good, and that's fine. Now we look over and see what's happened here. At the moment, we can see this looks a little bit dodgy, but remember I turned it 45 degrees. So if I turn it back 45 degrees, that one's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine, and that one is also fine. So that's how to deal with those really annoying parts. And they're the parts, firstly, where we have a diagonal on each side of the edge. Now, once that's done, we want to move along to creating, as I said, edges which are both vertical parts, both outer edges are vertical. Now, the ones that we have are either going to be like this, where they have two diagonals, or they're going to be like this, where they have one diagonal. And the way that I deal with them is to just, first of all, get all across, just pick a face for the up face, and all along here, I want that to be clear. So these are not good, that's good. I want the diagonals to be on the top. So that just means just flipping them around until I've got all diagonals parts on the top. It doesn't matter which ones I use at the moment. That's got to be changed, so let's put that there. That's looking better. What about this side? I want to do it on the top and on the opposite face as well. That's fine. That's fine. This one here just needs to be changed, so I might do something like that. Cycle them. Now, once I've got that, I can ignore in the middle at the moment. I want to find a piece with one diagonal. And again, this is a little bit of an art rather than a science, in that when you have this, it'll work. When you don't, you just have to do a little bit of turning and fiddling, and hopefully we'll see what I mean here. So a piece with one diagonal where the vertical part is on the right. What I want down the bottom is a piece with two diagonals. Now, ideally, I don't think it matters if that's in there, but ideally I want something clear in there, like something that's correct. But if I don't have that, that's okay. I want to turn it off 45 degrees, bring up the cross, and turn it back. Now, what will happen is that'll create a good one there. If I have a free, clear one there, it'll do good things here as well. But in this case, it hasn't. So now I've made that one. I'll turn that around and do the same thing. Let's see if I can find a cross. There's a cross. Now at this stage, let's see if I've got a correctly made. There is one there. So I'm going to put that in the position that I want it in, just to show you what actually happens when you have a good one sitting there. So there's a cross, there's a one diagonal, so I'm now going to turn that 45 degrees, bring up the cross and turn it back. And what you'll see happens is that that's good, that's still good, and it's just left me with one of these. That's what I'm aiming for. So I might turn it up to the other way. Now there's my part one with a single diagonal with the vertical part on the right. There's my cross. Let's rotate, put a clear one there. Those two are good. What else have we got? Here's one. You can see that they're getting more and more of the correct ones. Do I have a cross? That's the next question. Don't seem to have one on the bottom. Do I have one in the middle? No, so at this stage I've got no crosses. So the sort of thing that I can do now is, before I keep doing this, is to place pieces like this on one face and try and match them up in a way that is going to enable me to turn it 45 degrees and make correctly done pieces. That's a mouthful. Let me try and show you what I mean. If I grab that piece there, firstly we'll turn it up and we'll see that if I was to turn this face 45 degrees, I would have just made a clear edge there. So that's good. What about now? In order for that to do something useful, I actually want a cross created there, so I want the opposite type of piece here. For example, not that one, I want, have I got one on the bottom? No, they're all good. Let's turn this around. That one, and you can see, remember I'm going to turn it 45, there's a clear one, there's a cross. Now what do we got here? In fact, I'm not happy with that yet because it hasn't been turned up correctly because I've got these things on the front. So let's ignore that for now. Let's get, and that's no good. We see when I do that it's no good. So I'll keep looking for another one. Like that. So there's, is that going to work? There's my clear one. I'm going to create the cross here. If I can do that. As soon as I've done this, you'll go, oh, that's what he means. Okay. Correct, cross. Now looking for another correct one. When I turn it 45. Yep, I think this is pretty good. Okay, so what I've got now is 4 of these pieces with a single diagonal. Now, I'm going to turn it 45 degrees. Let's see what I've created. a correct one over here, a correct one over here, a cross and a cross. Good, I've got some crosses back. Now let's see what I've got up the top. I've got one piece here. I can put another, yep, I can put that up there. So I'm just going to move that piece to the top, which is now in readiness. And remember, I need a cross down the bottom, so I'll turn that cross around, and I'm going to just replace this with one that's already done. So I had this piece with the one diagonal here, the correct one and the cross, and now I can do my move again. There we go. Let's see where we're at. Now that needs to be flipped over. Let's put these on the correct face again. So I'm looking for all of these things facing upwards. Now in the middle, I nearly got, okay, there we go. Got a cross on the bottom. Yep, okay, so what I'll do is, for now, leave that one there. I've got my cross on the bottom ready to go. I'm going to put this one in position and just replace this with a correct one. Alright, that one there, that's correct, cross on the bottom. Let's go again. What have we got left now? We've got 1, 2 with a single diagonal, 3 with a single diagonal. That's okay, that's okay, that's okay. 4 with a single diagonal, so I'm going to put them up to the top now, I reckon, and do the same sort of thing that I did before. So the first one, let's try this one first of all. Yep, that's looking good. That's going to make me a cross. I'll come over to this side, and I'd like to put one up there that's going to have a piece going down like that. I reckon they're in the center, so I'm just going to move this one down to the bottom. See if that does the job. No, that doesn't, so let's move another one down to the bottom, because I reckon there were more. So I'm pretty sure I counted 4. 1, 2, 3. Might be this one here that I need to use. That's better. That's going to make a nice clear one. And the fourth one, when I find it, there it is. Put that up to the top. Turn it 45 degrees. I've got 2 clear and I've got 2 crosses. Now I'm going to take those 2 crosses and put them next to each other, and now turn it back and see what I've got. And you'll see, and I just don't want to go too fast, so let me just recap there. Where I ended up was that I had a cross opposite each other, and I had these 2 clear ones. Everything else is done. Everything else is correct and ready to deal with. So what I'll do now is grab the 2 crosses, turn one of them underneath, and put them next to each other. So on the same face, I've got the 2 crosses next to each other. If I now turn it 45 degrees, you'll see that that gives me 1 correct one, 2 with a single diagonal, and 1 with a cross. And that is the point at which we're ready to complete these. That's what we're looking for, to complete all 3 of them. And this time what we want to do is have our piece here, we want our cross down the bottom, and we want our 3rd piece in that position. So I'm just going to cycle those 3 pieces around to put them in the correct positions. Alright, so the only difference now is that instead of this being a correct piece, it's our last and our 3rd piece with a single diagonal. Now you can see that it's always going to match up correctly, because this, and I'll turn it 45 degrees, there's my correct piece. So I turn it 45, bring up the cross and turn it back. That's done, and of course this one down here is done as well. And that is pretty much how it always goes, just working your way through, thinking about what needs to be turned here and there, until you end up with all edges having both bits vertical. Now, when that is done, what we want to do is again go through and deal with these bits here. So I would probably look and see, are there edges in an edge position to be twisted, and then are there edges and corners to be swapped. It's much easier now, there's no blockage because all of our pieces are there. So for example, I'll just turn that across, do a couple of up, up, down, downs, put it back as per normal. Really important just to remember to keep turning it back 45 degrees, otherwise you're going to end up with crosses and single diagonal pieces. So I'm just going to whip through that really quickly. Alright, just turning back that last one in, so I've swapped all the edges and the corners, and we now are truly back to complete cube shape. And the first thing that we've got to do before we start reducing any of these things is put the correct triangles in the center part. And to do this, I'm going to use a really simple routine, and I'll show it to you later because it's actually the exact same thing I'm going to use to cycle some triangles home later. Initially, I just check and see if there's any opposite colours. So I've got a yellow here, and I've got a white here. So easy thing is just to move that, swap them, put them back. And if there are any that are opposite, I can do that. So even if I've got a white here, for example, that can go up there, I might as well still do that. Anyway, that's whites and yellows done. What about greens and blues? I've got a blue there and I've got a green here. So I can turn both of those, get them swapped. I reckon that's it for greens and blues. And reds and oranges? Nah, nothing. So that's, I only normally get a few done. Now what do we do to get the rest of the triangles here? Well, I'm going to start by just choosing any piece with a triangle, a red triangle that needs to go up here somewhere. I'm actually going to be cycling this triangle, and this triangle. What the heck? Let's show you how I do it now. And what we're going to do is firstly 45 the upper face and the left backwards, and then return the upper face. That's the first thing. And what I've done is put a yellow corner from here into that position. Now I want to replace this with this one, or in fact any of the others, but for me it's this one. But I want to be able to turn that upper face without having this stuff go everywhere. And so for now I'm going to turn that front face 2 turns to put that stuff away from it all. Turn the left face 1 turn, and now I can do it. That's all I wanted to do. I can bring back that left face, bring back the front face, and then undo my initial 3 moves. And we'll take stock of what's happened. We see that yes, some corners have moved around, no question. Yes, some edges have moved around as well. But as far as things becoming unreduced, the only thing that has happened is these corners, well, certainly these 2 are the only things that appear to have happened. In actual fact, this one was involved as well. And what really happens is that we have a 3 cycle, and I'll demonstrate this now by doing it again. We have a 3 cycle of this piece here going to that position, this piece here going to that position, and this yellow coming back to here. So a really nice, easy, simple to look at and understand 3 cycle. Let me carry that out again to prove that that's exactly what happens. You can see how quick, intuitive and easy it is, and they've all been put back, and so it definitely moves around other stuff, but it does not undo any kind of reduction work that we might have already done. Okay, so you can see that it's pretty simple. What we need to do here, I only need to worry about positioning these things correctly when I'm down to 3 reds and 1 non-red. So let's go, up it goes, front face twice, the left face, and now turn it to the upper face around. Bring everything back and complete. Super easy. There's my red in there. Now I'm going to do all the reds just to show you what happens at the end. Now what I don't want to do, because my cycling is here to here to here, I don't want to have a red piece there because it's going to come out. So I might just turn that off. Here we go, there's 2 reds in. Let's find another red. Here's one. Now this time I can turn it 180 degrees if I want to replace it with this one. I'll do that first. 2 turns of the upper face to bring this one into play. Oops, I did not turn my left face back. That was nearly disaster. Bring that back and I've got 3 reds done. And so now for the 4th red, that's the position I want the non-red to be, because it's going to cycle here, to here, to here, bring the white out and put this red in. And that's all done, and you can see all the reds have been completed. I just need to continue doing that for all the other faces. Alright, and all of these center little triangle pieces are now in. Now believe it or not, we are still not ready to reduce the edges. There is one more thing, it's a really important thing that we want to do. You don't have to do it now, you can do it later, but you'll have a lot more to undo later. And that is a check for, I guess, what I'm calling a parity. I don't know if it's a true parity or not, but it's a problem that will come up later when we're reducing the edges if we don't check for it now and fix it now. And what we're going to do to check for it is actually make these double edges together. So I want a green red and a green red, and I want to do that for all of them, and if need be, try and place them. So let's firstly find another green red, and this is going to be a hint as to how we're going to go about reducing the edges as well. So I want them 180 degrees apart. Green red on the left there, green red on the right here, and for example I'll turn that off like that, and I'll turn that one off like that. 180 degrees, put them back. Now you'll notice a couple of things. The first thing is I've made myself a green red. The second thing is I've knocked out an orange and a red here, so I need to put them back. So as I'm thinking about this, I might as well go, well, what's here? That's a blue yellow. When I do that, I'd like to have another blue yellow in that position. So if I can, I'm going to find the blue yellow. I don't know where it is, or even if it's available to be used. Oh, there it is. I think that is available to be used, so I'm going to just 3-cycle that into that position, and now I'll turn this back to put the orange and the red center triangles back, and you can see that not only did I do the green red, the blue yellow is done as well. And I keep doing that. So there's a blue orange, let's find the other blue orange. It's up there. It's oriented wrongly, so I'll just take that out, put that in correctly. Okay, bring that out. What the blue orange is made, I see up here is a green yellow, so I'd like to put a green yellow in if I can. I'm actually not going to worry about it now because I want to explain properly how to do it with the other ones. I'm just going to get these done. Alright, let's try and get these cycled home. White, red, we'll put that here. We'll bring the white reds together. And now we do want to see, that's an orange yellow, so we want to use the orange yellow over here to replace these white reds, so that the orange yellow is on the left and it will match up with this orange yellow when I complete it. Now, the fact that I have managed to match up all of the pieces does not necessarily tell me that I don't have this parity. One way I will know that I definitely have it is if I get to this point and I can't match up pieces. In other words, I've got a swap. For example, I had an orange yellow here and an orange blue here. If those two were swapped, that'd tell me, yep, I've got it. Even now, I'm not actually sure, because it could well be that I have an edge where 2 pieces are swapped. So that one is there and that one is there. And I won't know until I see a single flipped edge. And so if you're getting a single flipped edge, that's what it's about. So what I need to do, and this is where this cube is a great cube, it's a challenging cube, but it's one of these things where, oh, I've got another stage before I can actually start reducing. Yep, that's what happens. And so I do need to go ahead and actually try and now solve these pieces as if I'm solving the edges, as if they're already done. So there's the white cross. I don't care about the corners, I don't care about anything inside them, I just care about getting the edges into position. I'm obviously doing that quite quickly, not really caring about explaining it at the moment. Now I need the yellow red. What have we got here? We've got 2 to swap, so let's... And, yep, let's go ahead and... Okay, I'm glad this happened. So, I've got all the edges in position, except what I see here is I've got a single flipped edge. And as I said, that indicates that we do have a parity. And there's no real way of detecting it before this, because you remember that all through the getting back to cube shape and all the rest of it, we're turning 45 degrees all the time. So it's only really now that we can look at it and go, got to fix that. So that belongs there, that belongs there. That's the problem. We might also have seen it, as I said, with a swap of 2 edges from different edges. But here, they're 2 edges from the same edge, 2 outer edges from the same edge. So, how do we deal with this? Okay, well what we want to do is turn it 45 degrees. That has fixed the problem. I now want to go ahead and basically put back what I can. So the first thing is I'll put back the yellow blue to this position, and obviously I've just turned it 45 degrees on the top. I want to make sure that I always turn an even number of 45 degree turns now to keep it fixed. So for example, 1, 2. Here we go, that's put the yellow blues back. I'll repeat the same thing for the yellow reds, and I'll see down here there's a piece that's dodgy, so we'll use that one. 1, 2. Let's put the yellow reds back. Now what you'll notice now is that we have a single diagonal piece, a cross, and a single diagonal piece. And you will remember that's actually the position I needed to be in to complete all these pieces. So I now go ahead and put them in that position. That one there. Ready to go. So this is just like before, and I'm going to get them. And again, because I'm just doing a 45 here, I'm doing a 145, bringing up the cross, and then turning back to 45. So I haven't undone the fix that I've done. Now let's see what we've got. If you want, you can go ahead and resolve edges, and in fact I might as well do it. Now, at first sight, you might think, well, it's achieved nothing. But in fact it has. This is still where it was, but we notice that we've now got another swap. We've got white-blue, which belongs down here, and the green-yellow, which belongs up here. So that is a second swap. And remember, at the beginning we had just the single swap, which was bad. We've now created 2 swaps, and that's good, and that's fine. And so we've fixed that parity, we've dealt with that now, so we don't have to deal with it later. You can imagine it's going to mess up a lot of stuff we've done if we've already been reducing edges. That's why I'll do it now. So from here, the thing to do is basically to put any of this sort of stuff, edges and corners that are in the wrong position, to swap them around. So let me do that first. Won't take long. I think there's only one more to go. Bring that down. Okay, so they're all back. It's back to cube shape. The only other thing before we can start reduction is just getting these things back in again. So the ones in the middle are fine, and in fact the whites are fine. It's just these 2 yellows here. So I find some yellows. Go ahead and do that. There's one of them, and the last one. And I might just address the issue of, what about what I just did? Does that disrupt the fix that I did for the parity? Well, it doesn't, because if you think about it, we turned it 45, then we brought this up and we turned it back 45. So that's an even number of turns. Then we did some 90-degree turns, and then we did that again at the end. So we've always kept that at an even number of turns. So drum roll please, because we are actually now at the stage of being able to start reducing edges. It's been a very long time coming, but this is the Bagua Cube. So let me explain very clearly how to do this. And what we want to do is, it doesn't make any difference now about these things here. That's irrelevant. That was just for checking for the parity problem. We want to start by making what I'm calling an envelope. And by an envelope, I mean this here. So this large central edge piece, the two kites, and the little triangle. And what I'm going to show you now is how you do the first 9 of these things. When we get down to the last 3, we kind of do a similar thing, but it is different because we've got less room to play with. Now I like personally to do it in a logical order. I like to do my whites first, and I like to finish with the blue-red, the yellow-red, and I said the red-blue. What's the other one? Yellow-blue, wherever that is. Those 3 is my last 3 edges. So I always start with some whites. So let's say we start with the white-red here. I've got those 2 done. I need to look for a left upper kite matched with an upper little triangle. So I'm going to first see if I've got one already sitting around. In the early stages, sometimes you do. It doesn't look like I have here. So I'm going to make one. So there's a left, maybe you think I should leave that out, okay, because it's already attached to something. There's a left upper kite. 180 degrees away, I want a little white triangle. Now the first thing is, I want to bring them together. So I turn both off, bring them together, and bring this back. Now what's happening here is that you can see that I've brought those 2 things together. You can also see that I've retained cube shape, but the green and the blue piece have been knocked out. They'll need to be put back in. So once I've made the thing I want, I now replace it with something that's not been done. Now you'll notice that I turn this off to the left. And that tells me that I want to replace it with a piece that's on the right. I don't want to replace this with anything here because it's already been, you can see it's been split when we did that. So it's always got to come from the opposite side. So let's replace it with this one. At this stage it makes really no difference what we replace it with. Now I can undo those turns, and if I'm ever worried about what turns to undo, I just look at the colours here. I'll say, oh, that's got to go back to there. Bring them back. Okay, now the centres are back where they should be, and you'll see that I've made my desired white left kite and little triangle, so that's good. Now the reason I was doing that was to match them with that white blue edge, large triangle. Where the heck is that? There it is. So now was it the white blue one, or was it the white something else? No, it was the white red, because I made the left ones. Okay, so I now want to put 180 degrees away in the correct orientation. In other words, on the top of the piece, if I turn it 180, this part's on the top, so this part needs to be on the top. So I've got them into position. Now this time, clearly, if I do what I did, it's going to break that. So I don't want to turn it that way, I actually want to turn it this way. Turn both of them this way. Match them up. You can see there I've made my little envelope. Bring this back, and now because that's the piece that I wanted to make, I've replaced that with something else from the left hand side. That's done. I've got to put the orange and the red central triangles back, so I'll do that, and I've made this. Now the way that I do it is to build each piece up bit by bit and to add each bit on as I go. So I've got the envelope. I now want to add onto that envelope the white red with a left lower red kite. So in order to do that, I need to have the white red with a left kite. Let's check the white red first. There's a white red, but there's no red kite there, so I need to make that red kite add to here first. So here it is, 180 degrees away. I want to put a piece with a lower red kite like that. Okay, how am I going to match that? Push that out, bring it back. You can see I've made what I wanted. I turned it that way, so I want to replace it with pieces from over here. And now again, I'm stuck. What do I do? Oh yes, it's the yellow, so that's got to go out to there, that's got to go out to there. Now, what did I just make? The white red attached to the red kite, and I'm now ready to attach that little part to the envelope that I made before. So I put it 180 degrees away, the white's at the top, so the white's at the top. Now this time that's not going to work, that's not going to work, so this time I want to be turning my front face. Come around to here, turn the front face. You can see I bring it up and I've brought those two things together, put them back. This is the one that I just wanted to make. I turned it that way, so I want to replace it with a piece from this side. Any piece will do that I haven't already dealt with. And what do? Do I turn it back here? No, because I noticed the red is the one that's wrong. So that's got to be turned, that's got to be turned. To always keep my centers back. This is good. Now I'm looking for the last bit here, which is going to be white red attached to a red red. So the first thing is I've got to check, do I have a red lower kite and a red small triangle together? I might well have one of them already done, who knows. I've got it on the left, but I don't think I've got one on the right. Okay, so I'll have to make that. There's a lower red kite. I need to attach it to a red triangle, so I'll put that 180 degrees away. There it is. There it is. How do I match them up? I just think logically, well, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to turn it like this to push the red kite out and bring it up to the triangle. Put them back in. That's the bit I wanted. Replace it with something from over here. And go put back my triangles. Okay, and I'm nearly there. I've got the two red pieces I now need to match with the white red edge. So I've got to find my other white red edge. Oh, there it is, already in position. Fantastic. How do I match them? I've got to turn it off like that. Turn it off like that. Bring them together. Replace the white red piece that I've just made with something else from this side. Oops, let's actually do this properly. There we go. And now put the yellow and white triangles back where they should be. Where are we at? Well, we've got this white red part, and we should have just made the other white red part. So there it is. White's at the top, white at the top. How am I going to bring these together? You can see that if I turn it that way, this stays where it is, and this part disappears. Ooh, got a white red completely reduced edge. I better replace it with something from over here. And now deal with my triangles. Okay, let's have a look. All the triangles are back where they should be, so the center triangles are good, and I have made one reduced edge. Now this is really the only, what I'd call the tedious part of the solve, is that you've got to go and do that another 8 times before you're ready to do the final 3. Obviously there are 12 edges to reduce, but they all happen in exactly the same way. Now just before I cut through to the end bit, I will say this: once you've made edges, it doesn't matter if they get cut up while you're doing a move. So for example, if I wanted to say match something here with something up here, and I turn that off like that, you'll see when I bring it back, you'll see there's part of my white red that I just made. Well, it actually doesn't matter. There's the other part, because I would make something here, I would replace it with something else, and then I'd fix the little triangles like so. When I do that, I see that the white red is made. So that's fine. The thing that's really important is if you turn it off to the left, then you have to replace it with something from the right. So that's all you need to know for doing these things. You just do all the rest in exactly the same way. Do them in whatever order you like. I'll be finishing with the yellow, blue, yellow, red and red, blue edges. So if you're following along, you might want to do that on your own. So probably for me, I'd look at the white, blue next and try and get some blues here or some whites here and go from there. Hope that helps, and I'm going to be cutting back in when I've done the next 8 edges to be down to the last 3. Now, when we get to these edges, I've found the method that I'm going to use. It works every time, but sometimes it takes a long time to work and sometimes it goes pretty quickly. So I'm going to go through what I do initially, and the first thing, I don't even care about the little triangles. They are irrelevant because I can put them in at the end without too much trouble. So what I'm trying to do first is match a kite to each of the outer edge pieces. So on this edge here, you can see that that's actually done for the first stage because I've got a red kite next to a red, blue kite next to a blue, etc, etc. So that one's fine, but over here the yellow's fine, the red's fine, but I've got these two are wrong, and I'll find up on here somewhere I'll probably have a similar thing. No, this time I've got all 4 of them are wrong. So I want to firstly get the correct kites next to these outer edge pieces. So just looking at what I've got red, blue, red, yellow, yellow, red, blue, red. So for example, I see the yellow, red, and I've got here a red, yellow. So I want them in the same position, the red, yellow, yellow, red. And I want the other piece ready to help me if I need it. So firstly I'm going to move that across in the standard way and place the red next to the red. Now notice when I do that, it doesn't affect any of the other 3 pieces. It's only affecting this little piece here. So I've got them there. Now I've got to think, I obviously don't want to disrupt what I've done, and I don't want to disrupt anything else. So I've got a few options. I can flip this piece and bring a red blue down to here. I'll have a look what's on here. I see there's a blue red on here. So it would be quite sensible, I think, to flip both of these pieces. And flipping them is in the normal manner. Just going to flip these two and keep this one as it is. So down, down, up, up, first of all, and then put it back in that fashion. So I've now got a blue red there. I come down to this side, I can do the same thing and get the red blue. And in this case I didn't even have to use this 3rd piece. So now the reason for doing it, of course, is I've got the center triangle out, so I need to get that back. So I'll change both of them and you'll see I've now got the red and the blue. Now that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I won't get too excited about that yet because I haven't finished putting these bits together. Now what we see now is that we've got a yellow blue and a blue yellow. What I'm going to need to do here is probably something like involve another colour. So this time I'm going to turn this way. So at the other end I probably like to have a yellow to receive this yellow here. It doesn't matter which yellow, but it's going to have to be down here. So let's use this other piece if I can. No, I can't because it's on the wrong side. So we'll use this yellow here. So the first thing I'll do, and I'm turning it to this way, so I'll put the other piece on the right as per normal. So turn those 2 off. Noticing again, I'm bringing that up and I haven't affected that, I haven't affected that. This one was already dodgy, so that's okay. Now, what I see now is that I've got a blue yellow here and I've got a yellow blue here. So now this is matched to the point where I can flip this little piece and undo those moves, and that will complete all of the kites next to the correct colour edges of all 3 of the unreduced edges. That's sort of the first stage of this thing. And you can see that even though I did have something that looked pretty good, now I don't. Now, the next stage for me is to have a look. What I'm really trying to do is make envelopes. And by that I mean, if you can imagine those 2 are yellow, I've got this yellow envelope here with the red flap. That's the sort of thing that I'm trying to make. Again, I don't really care about the triangle, and so that triangle doesn't matter. In fact, it's really just those 3 pieces. When I start looking to do that, what I notice with this one is that this looks good. This yellow-blue is sitting with some yellows there, that's fine. This looks pretty good. The yellow is sitting with the yellow here. It's not like I have the red sitting down here, although that would be okay with that one. This one just looks bad. I don't have that blue or red with any of them. So the first thing that I want to do is take care of this one. Now, how I'm going to do this is I want to basically think, if I move that across and bring it up, I want that blue flap to go and hit a blue piece in that position around there. So I want an upper blue kite. However, I notice also that this is going to have a blue piece down here, and I've just spent time getting these together and I don't really want to disrupt them. So what I'm really looking for is an upper blue kite and a lower blue outer edge. I don't even know if it's possible to find something like that, and just looking at it, I don't think it is. So I don't have that. So initially I'm going to abandon that and I'm going to try going the other way. I'm going to say, alright, I'll turn it this way, and again this time I'd like the upper blue kite here with, again, I've got the lower blue edge. Let's see if I've got anything like that. Again, nothing there, so that's fine. I'll turn it around and try matching the red. If I did that, I want the red to come up to an upper red kite, and I want it to match, because this is going to turn off like that, I want it to match a lower red edge. So an upper red kite, lower red edge. There's my third piece. Don't have that. Last chance, we'll go this way, and this time I'm looking for an upper red kite with a lower yellow edge. So an upper red, this is on the right, upper red kite, lower yellow edge. I think I've got one here. Just check that I don't have one here. I don't have one there, but if I turn this around, you'll see that I've got an upper red kite with a lower yellow edge. That's actually exactly what I want. So I'll turn them around, and the reason for taking the time to do that is you can see now that I've done that, I've actually still got this bit matched. I've still got this bit matched. Let's turn them back in, and that is looking quite a bit better. Now, because I've got the pieces going this way, I have to turn this back. Obviously I don't want to disrupt what I've done. So my initial thought is to flip this around, first of all, this piece here. And just see what happens when I go back. Well, I'm going to want the blue to come back to an upper blue piece, and I'm going to look for this blue is going to come back down. So I'm actually looking for an upper blue kite with a lower blue edge if I'm going to do it that way. I don't think from memory I have anything like that. So what that tells me is I'm going to just put this to one side and use another piece to fill it in at the moment. Now, I didn't check that this was on the right before. It actually doesn't matter at this point because I haven't involved it in, like it's not in this position, so I'm just going to move it across to the right. Now, what I'm thinking is I've got to turn it that way, and I don't really want to disrupt stuff, so I'll just firstly take this out, put the new one in. Let's have a look. If I was to do that, I would now like to do the same thing, match this red up. So let's see what I've got. I want to get the red next to an upper red kite, and I want it to land on a lower red edge. Do I have that anywhere? No, I don't. That's okay. So I'll flip this piece around. Okay, what have we got now? I want the yellow, if I'm going to use this piece like this, I want the yellow to match an upper right yellow kite with a lower right blue edge. Do I have that? Upper right yellow, lower blue. No, I don't have that. So that's fine. I'm not happy with that yet. So what would I do next? I'd actually take this one, I'd probably leave that there for now and flip this one over and see if that helps me do anything. Now I'm bringing that around. Okay, let's see what happens there. Upper yellow kite, lower red edge. Now I believe, and I thought that was one of them that I needed, but let's see if I can still make this work. Yellow and blue, that was a no-go. And if I go this way, I'm looking to match this one, this yellow with an upper yellow and lower red. And just looking at it, it doesn't look good. So from that, I've tried that piece in. I'm going to put this one back where it was and see what we get. Upper red, lower yellow. That's the opposite to that. Okay, let's see if we can do this. We want this to match an upper blue and a lower blue. Do I have that? Okay, at this point I've pretty much exhausted what I've done. So for this only, I actually want to keep this, the bit that I've done. I just did the, which one was it? In fact, I think it was the blue-red. I just put this blue-red next to a red. That's okay, I'd like to keep that together. What I'm going to do is, instead of trying to match this up, I'm just going to keep the bottom blue that I had. So this is a bit of a long process to get this right, but it's worth it in the end. So I'm going to put a lower blue there, and at least to keep these kites matched correctly. Okay, now that's looking a bit better. Let's now have a look at this one, because we notice now this one's gone a bit dodgy. So let's firstly think about matching this yellow, if I can, with a yellow on the upper right. There's a yellow on the upper right. There's a yellow on the upper right. Now, of course, I could match it back to that where I just came from, but I don't really want to do that. So what I think I might do is get this one matched now. Try and get, probably try and create this little envelope here. So match the red with a red on the left. So I'm looking for an upper red kite and a lower yellow outer edge. Upper red kite, lower yellow. There's one right there. So upper red kite, lower yellow outer edge. And I'm going to be turning this way, so I'll just turn this other piece off for now. Okay, so I'm ready to turn those ones. You can see that has just magically made that little piece there. And I do assure you, this will always happen. It'll eventually happen. It might take a little bit of time, but that's what's going on. Now, at this point, I've still got to get the orange and the red center triangles back. I like the look of this. Obviously, I love the look of this. So for now, I want to keep the envelope that I've just made. So I'm going to flip this piece, first of all. The reason for flipping it is when I turn it around, theoretically, that envelope that I just made stays intact. Alright, so that's why I'm doing that. So now I'm going to try and do the same thing. I'm going to say I'd like to match this blue, if I could, with an upper left blue. Now I see that I've got an upper left blue here, so I'm going to put that in for now and just see if that's going to help me. Turn that around, upper left blue with a lower left red edge. Look at that, almost like magic. That's what I need. I'm going to turn that like that, and that is looking really good as well. Okay, so I've got my centers back. Things are looking not too bad. I never ever get too excited too quickly because they can sometimes take quite a while. So what I'm going to do now is the same sort of thing. I see this red yellow now needs to be dealt with. So let's see what I've got. My first thing is I need an upper red with a lower red edge, if I can get it. Do I have one of them? No. What about an upper red on the right with a lower red? I don't think I did have that either. Can't even find the other one. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is, and I definitely don't have that. That's fine, so I'll turn him around. Let's see what we've got this way. If I want this to go, I need an upper yellow kite on the right with a lower yellow edge. Not there. Not there. What about this way? Upper yellow kite on the left with a lower blue edge. Now we're cooking. So I do have one here. Upper yellow kite, lower blue outer edge. And that's why I didn't get too excited about this piece being made, because I thought, well, it's probably going to be unmade pretty soon. Let's just check where the third piece is. Yep, it's around here, so that's okay. The first thing we'll do that. Now I'm trying to get this piece dealt with, so let's think, probably I'd try and flip this initially. Because I'm coming back this way and I'm now going to see whether I can match to keep the yellow that I just made. Probably ideally I'd like to get this one, but I'm not in a position to do that yet. So I might try and get this red matched with an upper red and a lower red edge. Do I have that anywhere? I don't reckon I do. I don't. So I'm going to take this out for now and leave it and just think what's going on back here. This, I want to match the yellow with an upper left yellow and a lower left yellow as well. Hopefully. Now I don't have that, and so what I'm going to do is just match the lower left yellow. Okay, so I've got that lower left yellow there. Now I personally don't like this because it's going to undo the envelope that I did, so I'm just going to have a double check and see if there's anything better, or just see what happens when I do that. That's not terrible. That's also not terrible, so I'm going to take that. Next, I'm now going to attempt to get this one here done. So this is, I want to try and make the envelope here, so get this yellow matched with a yellow on the right. I've got a yellow on the right, but I don't have a yellow. Now you'll notice that what's happened in doing that is the blue and the yellow, by the way, and the yellow and the blue have come out. So normally what I would try and do is fix them, you know, straight away. So I'm going to do that now. Now the danger is in trying to fix them that I just get back to where I started, which is obviously no good. So what I'm going to do is do the yellow blue, and I'm going to match that blue up to this blue here initially, like that. Now I'm just going to check if that's going to work by seeing what happens with this bit that I just spent a bit of time making. That yellow, that's going to come back to the wrong thing here. So maybe I won't do that initially, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Let's see what happens. I have a feeling it's just going to make it go back to where it was, which is no good. Don't want that. So I will actually match that yellow blue back with the blue yellow where it came from, like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that so far. So I've got the edges, the kites matched back with these lower edges. Now I'm going to find this piece and get on with, again, trying to match, let's say this yellow. I would like to get this yellow here if I can. So I want a yellow. Now you'll notice actually that I've got, this was here, that's got to be down there. I've got a couple of broken pieces in here that I've got to fix as well. So I can't just turn that in, I've got to replace that properly. Let's firstly do that. Okay, so we've got this. Now I'm trying to get that, so I actually need to flip that around. Okay. Matching that red with a red on the left. Here's a red on the left, but it is going to undo that. But I think in this case what I'm going to do is take that. Take that like that. Don't mind that. Let's see if we can turn this around and get either a red here or a yellow here, because I think then it will be pretty close to home. So first of all, what would happen if I tried to do a yellow there? A yellow kite on the right with a red edge on the lower right. So a yellow kite, there we go. There's a yellow kite with a red edge on the lower right. So initially I'm going to take that one, I'll put this third piece over here. Bring that around and you will agree this is definitely looking better. Now I've got to come back out this way. So for now, let's think what I've got. And yes, I do recognise that that's wrong. I'm going to fix that in a minute. Initially, I would say I don't want to break this, so I'm going to flip that piece and see if that helps me do anything. Oh, that's looking good because that keeps that part together. So what I'm looking for now is a red kite on the right and a yellow outer edge. Have I got one down here? I don't have that, but I do have a red kite on the right, and the reason I'm going to take that is because it should do that. I really like the look of that. And what you can see is, apart from the outer edges, I've actually got all three of these things that are looking pretty good. Now, my task now is to analyze and find out what I need to do to get these ones done. I can see that I've got yellow red, red blue, blue red, and red yellow. Now, the first thing that I would try is just to get these matched back up and see if it keeps what I've done. So there's a red yellow. Let's find the yellow red if I can, if I've got one that's right there. Now obviously if I just do that, it's going to put things back to where they were. So I'll abandon that for the minute and try the blue red here and see what happens there. There's my red blue. Now if I was to do the red blue and the blue red, what would happen? That stays nice and that stays nice, so I'll certainly take that. Now at this point I've got that done, and I still have to go back out here. So I'm now looking to see, look, can I get another blue on the lower right? And it looks as though I can. I've got a lower, sorry, that's a lower left blue there. So I'm going to put that in and just see what happens when I do this. I have a feeling it's not going to be too good. That's not terrible. Actually going to not do that for the moment. I'm going to swap this over, flip this piece to get the yellow. And because I'm still wanting to come around here, and I'm going to want to see if I can get another yellow up the top there. That's it. I mean, I definitely can. If I do that yellow there, I can see that that has done that, but what it has done, it's actually kept those two distinct bits, which is good, and I've now got this, that one, the red yellow, and the yellow red. So my next thing will be to check what happens if I just try and deal with them straight away. That looks great. That actually looks good as well. I think I'm on the home stretch here. So that one's done. Now clearly I've got to do something about this piece. So I'm going to flip this piece in place. Is that any good? I don't like it. So for now, what am I going to do? I'm going to think, is what I'm going to do. I really do like the look of that, obviously. If I put, let's actually flip that back. Put that yellow there, bring this yellow up. Let's just see what that does. I am super happy with that. Okay, that is fantastic. What I've got now, if you look at it, I've got the blue-red that's done. I've got the yellow-blue and the yellow-blue with the wrong envelope. And I've got the yellow-red with the wrong envelope. And that now means I'm in a position to swap those two envelopes. Now, in terms of swapping the envelopes, what you might initially think, well, let's have a look at how we can do that for a start. I know that with corners, if I forget about those for a minute, put them over there, if I just do an up, up, down, down 3 times, what's going to happen is that those two corners are going to swap, and if I'm doing it starting from the bottom, these two corners will swap as well. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. Now, if I bring these back and have a look and put them in the corner position, my first task is to think, do I have them oriented the correct way? Now, what's going to happen is when they swap, the corners completely switch orientation. In other words, whatever's on the top here goes to the bottom there and vice versa. So at the moment I'm thinking that blue is going to go to the bottom. Hey, that's pretty perfect. And this red is going to go to the top. That's great. This yellow part at the front will go to that yellow part of the front. So that's exactly where I want them. The orientation is correct. Now the problem is if I just try and do a direct swap now, in fact I'll just do one, up, up, down, down, it will certainly swap them. There's no question of that. But because I've turned them both in, it's going to do stuff with the other edges here, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to just do it in a two-step process for the swap. So I've worked out the correct orientation there, and just to be really clear about that, if I had it in the wrong orientation, like that, I would put them there and I would discover that the blue would go to the bottom there in the yellows, and that's no good. So that's what I'm sort of looking for when I do this. Okay, so I've got the orientation correct. What I want to do is put the piece at the bottom, 2 turns around to the back, and then 2 turns up to the top layer. So it's actually just at the back there. I'm going to turn this in, and I'm going to swap this part with a corner. Just 3 up, up, down, downs. Now that indeed has done exactly what I said. It's swapped those 2 bits. It's also swapped bits over here, but you'll notice what's happened is it doesn't matter that it's swapped the edges because I didn't turn this part 45 degrees, I just left it here. So it's just swapped those 2 corners, and that doesn't matter. Now that I've got that there, I turn the top face at 180 degrees, bring it around, and put this into here where I want it. That's done. I now bring that top face back to put this into here. And when that's done, I can turn this back, and you'll see that apart from the little triangles, all 3 of those edges have been completed. As I said, sometimes it takes a long time. I'd call that one a long time. And sometimes it takes, 5 minutes if you're lucky. But it is certainly possible to do. There are no need for any commutators with the last 3. You can just deal with it like that. And that, of course, brings us to the last little stage here of the reduction, which is dealing with the triangles. Now, you might remember that earlier on in the solve, I was trying to put the triangles in this center part. And what that means is that I can use exactly the same routine because all I was doing there was 3 cycling the little triangles. So I can do the same sort of thing to get the job done here with these. So, for example, let's consider this little yellow piece here. I knew that what was happening then was that this yellow piece was going to here, this one was going to here, and this one was going to here. So if I was just to do a cycle on that, it would achieve nothing. What that tells me is that I want to fill this with a blue, and so I'm actually going to put it up with this blue face, and it's going to cycle the yellow to here, the blue to here, and this blue to complete there. That's the first thing I'll do. So let's remember what happened. I went like that first of all, front 2 and left to make this top face turnable, and turn it around, bring back the left, front 2, and then undo all those moves. Now let's stop and have a look at what's actually happened. The first thing is that blue has certainly filled this position here. The second thing is looking around, nothing else has been changed apart from the little yellow triangle in the center here. These 2 were already like that. So it hasn't affected any of the other reduction that we've done. Now, let's see what's going on here. I'd like to fill a yellow piece. I'd like to fill a yellow piece into here. And what that's going to do, if I cycle those 3 around, it should fill the yellow piece in there and put a red piece back into here. So let's do that again. Voila, the yellow piece is done, and that just leaves me this last little piece here with this one here. So I'll just set it up and get it in the correct format, and I know that the direction is like that. So I want to have it turned, so the blue goes to there, this blue goes to here, and the red comes down to here. Really simple, no fuss. And you can see that all of the triangles have been done, and that means that all of the edges have been reduced. From here it's a little bit euphoric because it really is just solving as a 3x3, and I have discovered no weird happenings if you get the reduction right in the first place, and if you make sure that all your edges are correctly oriented. And I talked earlier in the video about the possibility of having to do a 45 and solve those edges. So that's assuming that that's all taken care of. And what I'm going to do now is just solve this thing as a 3x3 in the manner that I normally would. And for me, that's an edges first method, so I get the white cross done. I'll put 3 middle layer edges around here. So there's one of them. There's a second. It's all very, very simple moves. Here's a third. This orange green can go in there. And that will leave this 4th middle layer edge to help me get the last yellows on the top here. So I can turn that around first to the yellow orange. I can then go to place my yellow blue. Where is that? It's right here. So bring the position around, put it on, undo those moves, and I'll see what's happened. And I might end up with a couple of scenarios. I could just have a 3 cycle. I could theoretically have a swap of 2, and I might even show that in a minute just to be very, very comprehensive in this video. And I could have what I've got here, which is 2 edges in their correct positions but flipped. Well, we've been doing flipping in this video and we deal with it in exactly the same way. Those 2 I want to flip, that I don't. Down, down, up, up, and now just complete the 3 cycle as normal. So that's solved those edges. What about if we have a swap? Well, the swap would look something like this. We've got the 2 at the back done, got something in here, and I've got the yellow green and the yellow red. And because it's a swap, and because it is a 3x3, it's perfectly legal to get that. I just want to turn the upper face 1 turn, not 45 degrees, but the full 90. And from there, I want to go and resolve these 2 back positioned edges. So the first one was the yellow orange, which belonged there. So I can use these 3 to 3 cycle that one home. The second one was the yellow blue, which belonged here, and that's over here at the moment. So I can 3 cycle that home. And sometimes what happens is that the last 2 will then solve in place, or else you'll get some kind of 3 cycle-y thing. So that's the edges done. And for me now, doing the corners, and I like to use the corner piece series, and you can have a look in the description of any of my videos to find a video on what the corner piece series is. It's super simple, super useful, and I'm firstly going to solve the white, blue, orange down to that position, cycling these 3 corners around. You can see that none of the edges have been touched. All that's happened is those 3 corners are moved, and that's in position. So I'm normally looking for a corner that will roll along an edge like just happened then. Looking around here and I can't see any like that, so next look for a corner that can go across a diagonal. And the deal is that I'm looking for the colour on the side to come to the top. So that's in a good position there, so that yellow, blue, red, or the yellow to come to the top. And across the diagonal will involve those 3 pieces. So this time I'll do a clockwise corner piece series. You can see that's in. Again, that hasn't been touched, nothing else has been touched. And I'll continue to see what I can find. Got a white, green, orange that can go across to there. They're in position, so let's do that one. Oh, yep. We've got the white, red, green that can come down an edge here. Now I don't have anything in that position, so all I can do is turn it around. That'll go across the back edge, and now I've got 3 in position. Alright, 1, 2, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 to go. That's in position, so I've got a 3 cycle of these other pieces somewhere. Let's see what we can do. Yellow, green, red. Yep, that one can go across the diagonal. The yellow colour is on the left, so that will place on the top. and that will leave me 3 to go for my end game. So for the end game, I've got this will come down here. Now I've got 2 options. I can have it coming down the side, or if it's better, I can turn it to the back and have it going across the back, because what I'm looking for is this is going to come down here. If I do one like this, where these 3 pieces go across, I know that the blue colour will go to the top. And that tells me that for my 3rd piece, I want that 3rd piece to be in this position with whatever sticker colour is in the blue face there. And that's because the blue was coming to the top. Now if I see this 3rd position, I note that that yellow sticker colour is in the blue face. So all I need to do for a setup is turn that up like that. I've now got 1, 2, 3, and I can even see that it's going to work because this will go across the back, and I can see that the orange will come over to there. So those 3 are now ready, and I can complete the corners. That's done. I can undo that setup move, and this 𝙃𝙃𝙄𝙎 Bagua Cube is solved.